But this video is about my past mental illness. Throughout all of the 1980s, I suffered from a debilitating mental illness called manic depression. That's a bipolar disorder if you want to look it up. I had no idea that I was suffering from something, but I knew something was different about me, and I used to describe myself as an alien in a human body with a perfect disguise. Throughout the 1980s, I would forcibly not sleep sometimes, not eat sometimes for up to 7 days at a time. I would work way too long of hours very often, even 16, 18 hours a day. I did many crazy and bizarre things that were dangerous to my health and the people around me. Always just thinking, oh, I was just a cool guy and this was fun, and not being able to comprehend the dangers or anything like that was involved in my activities. Well, this kind of mental illness is actually far more common than most people can even comprehend. Everybody knows someone who has this illness. Right, Katie? It's actually most prevalent in the public society, people who are famous. Some people even say 50% of famous authors, TV producers, writers for television shows and popular things like that, artists, many of the famous ones that have died and committed suicide, and people like that, and TV personalities have this disorder. This disorder has some positive side effects. People who have this disorder are often more creative than other people, more driven personally to get things done, but that's actually a symptom. Their mind is like opened up in a different way. It runs at a higher level. It runs like at high speed. There's many symptoms I'll explain that that precludes to this, so you can understand a person in this state. First of all, manic depression means at some points of time during your life, you're very high. You're manic. You're on some sort of drug, like maybe cocaine. Your heart beats a little bit faster. You don't need very much sleep. And you can function well. You think faster, you speak faster, you write faster, you walk faster. You can't sleep at night because your brain won't turn off. It just keeps racing and spinning around, and you can't stop thinking about everything and planning everything so far in the future. And then the insomnia you get from that increases the amount of delusion that you have from being too high. Also, it reduces your desire to want to eat, so you eat less. That increases the symptoms too. It's a scary thing, and you don't even realize anything's wrong, because when you're manic, you're so happy. You think everything is perfectly wonderful and nothing could be going better, and you start spending money and stuff like that and doing the crazy and bizarre and dangerous things maybe. Or sometimes people get so delusional they even see things and you know, they're seeing things that really aren't there. Well, I've never been that delusional. On the depressive side, which is actually where most people suffer in this condition, is you have feelings of self-worthlessness, of low self-esteem, many feelings of suicide, you know, stuff like that, thinking that everybody's picking on you and your life is all a mess and it's everybody else's fault, and you just can't understand why you're in such a situation and you're blaming everyone but yourself. Well, that's the negative side. In my family, depression runs in my father's side of the family. As far as I know, nobody has manic depression, but my father's mother was institutionalized because she had a mental breakdown from this disorder, and my father is alive today and still on heavy medication for his depression. He has what's called chronic depression. Well, luckily I don't have that. Most of the time I'm very happy. So, well, you have this disorder, you just never understand, and people around you don't understand why some weeks or some months you're just so gloomy and sad and you know, maybe even self-abusive or contemplating suicide, and then you're a different person weeks or days later, and you're running around at 100 miles an hour and you think the world is the greatest and you're so happy, and you know, but you could be doing terrible things at the same time and not even understanding what you're doing or comprehending the ramifications, the side effects, or whether you're doing something right or wrong. Well, in my situation, I was mostly manic 90% of the time. So that's why I thought nothing was wrong. I felt very happy. I actually felt too happy. I thought it was like every day I won $1 million. I just felt that I could do anything. I had delusions of grandiosity. I felt that I was capable of doing anything. You know, that's another one of the symptoms. And at the same time, there's other symptoms. There's sexual promiscuity, or very heightened sexual desire or arousal. Well, I had that too. But I married a woman who just loved sex, so she was keeping me happy most of the time. But in the late 1980s, I didn't find out till later, especially '89, my wife was having an affair and I wasn't getting enough sex to keep me satisfied. Well, another symptom when you're in the peak of your mania is like spending lots of money. Some people bankrupt themselves at casinos, or buying things online, or buying major purchases and financing them because they think they can make so much money and pay it all off, or there will be no troubles in the future. Well, I had that problem a little bit. Of course, I bought the farm in 1989 when my mania was peaking. I didn't need a farm. My dad just happened to show it to me. I liked it, and I just went out and bought it the next day and didn't even tell my wife. A month later, when we were driving by, I pointed over there and said, "Look, that's our farm." And she was shocked, especially that I didn't ask her. Then, of course, around Christmas of 1989, I made another major purchase, my first video camera, which was $1,500. In my manic state, I made some mistakes and I filmed some things that I shouldn't have, that weren't even a habit in my life or part of stuff I was normally involved in. But because of my increased sexual arousal, I made some mistakes and I went to jail. Some of the stuff Evelyn's reporting and on those papers is actually true, but we'll get to that later.